Good morning, students. In our last lecture, we have discussed the digestive system and respiratory system of pigeon. Today, we will discuss about circulatory and nervous system of pigeon. So, let us start. First of all, circulatory system of pigeon. The bird have efficient circulation at high rate of metabolism and a high and constant body temperature. They are homeotherms. Birds are homeotherms and warm-blooded animals. Therefore, they need the large amount of oxygen and large amount of constant body temperature. The birds and mammals are only vertebrates that have a complete separation of respiratory and systemic circulation, and a double circulation is found in both of them, making possible at the higher anterior pressure, which allow the material to reach the tissue rapidly. Circulatory system of pigeon include heart, arteries, veins, blood and lymphatic system. Heart is 4-chambered in pigeon, 2 auricles and 2 ventricles. Sinus venosus is absent like in lower vertebrates. External structure. The heart of pigeon is large sized, reddish in color, triangular and compact. It is enclosed in a thin pericardium, which is a derivative of coelomic epithelium. The pericardial wall is made up of an outer parietal layer and inner visceral layer. 2 layers enclose a narrow pericardial cavity filled with the pericardial fluid. The pericardial fluid protects heart from the external shocks and injuries and permit movement during beating. The 2 auricles are also demarcated from each other by a faint interauricular groove. This is the externally is a triangular in shape, or it is triangular in shape, but it's 2 auricles and 1 ventricle, but ventricle is internally completely divided internally. In this internal structure, 2 right precaval and 1 post caval are open into the right auricle, and this is the right ventricle, and this is left auricle, and this is left ventricle, and these are papillary muscles which is associated with the cuspid valves. This is bicuspid valve and this is tricuspid valve, and these are the systemic arch which carry the pure blood from the heart to the body parts, and these are the precavals which bring impure blood to the heart. Internal structure of heart. Internally, 2 thin walled auricles are separated by the complete membranous partition. That is the interauricular septum. It has a small oval area of middle called fossa ovalis, representing the foramen of ovale in embryo. The two thick walled muscular ventricles are also completely separated by a thick muscular interventricular septum. The left ventricle is slightly larger and powerful than the left one and then the right one. It has a circular cavity, and its propulsive force has great power of pumping the blood. The right ventricle is smaller. A crescentic cavity in the section is seen. It is partly encircled the left ventricle. The ventricle have bundles of muscle fiber arranged longitudinally to form columni carni. The right auricle receives 3 large veins, 2 precaval and 1 postcaval in the dorsal wall. The opening of precaval vein is guarded by the muscular eustachian valve. The right auricle open into the right ventricle by a tricuspid valve. This aperture is guarded by a pair of muscular flap which having no chordae tendineae, forming right auriculoventricular valve. It represents the tricuspid valve in mammals. The right ventricle gave off a single trunk, pulmonary aorta, which bifurcate into 2 pulmonary arteries going to each lung. Opening of pulmonary trunk is guarded by 3 semi-lunar valve. The left auricle is smaller, and 4 pulmonary veins from the lungs it open into the left ventricle by a circular left auriculoventricular aperture, which is guarded by 2 auriculoventricular valve. The flaps are connected by a thick papillary muscles which arise from the wall of left ventricle by the chordae tendineae. The left ventricle give rise to a single systemic or aortic arch which crosses over the right side of the heart and continue as dorsal aorta. This is the diagram of arterial system, and this is the venous system of pigeon. Arterial system carry pure blood from the heart to the various organs, and our veins bring blood, impure blood to the heart. Hepatic, except the circulatory system, a hepatic portal system is found, which is included in this. The blood is various part of alimentary canal returned to the liver by hepatic portal veins. The hepatic portal veins collect, absorb food from the intestinal villi and carry to the liver for the deposition, for the storage of the nutrients. Renal portal system is in the pigeon is greatly reduced and include two renal portal veins, which give off only a few afferent renal veins to each kidney and does not form capillary system in the kidney. Thus, the blood from the posterior body reaches directly to the heart through the renal capillaries. Blood of pigeon consists of 10 to 15 micron size RBC, and number of RBC are 2.5 to 3.5 million RBC per cubic mm of blood. Each carry a large amount of hemoglobin that gives its oxygen suddenly at a relatively high oxygen tension areas. WBC are numerous and present, but platelets are not found in pigeon, but blood clot quickly. Clotting capacity is found, but not blood platelets in the pigeon. Bird's body temperature is usually about 42 to 45 degrees centigrade. Heat loss is minimized by the absence of vascularized extremities like feet. Except this, a lymphatic system is also found in the pigeon. A lymphatic system, a few lymph glands associated with the blood vascular system. Lymph vessels unite to form a thoracic duct opening into the precaval vein. Adult pigeon lack a lymph heart. The spleen is a small oval and reddish gland attached to the right side of the proventriculus by the peritoneal fold. A spleen is a small ovoid and red body attached to the peritoneum of the right of the proventriculus. Now, the nervous system of pigeon. A well developed nervous system of pigeon is found in the, and divided into central nervous system and peripheral nervous system and autonomous nervous system. Central nervous system including brain and spinal cord. Peripheral nervous system includes the nerves arising from brain and spinal cord, spinal nerves and cranial nerves, and the autonomous nervous system includes the sun ganglions and nerves which are in the internal organs, and autonomous nervous system is divided into sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. Now, structure of brain. Brain is surrounded by a whitish color completely filled by the cranial cavity, and protective membranes, two membranes are found, dura mater and a connective tissue, internal pia arachnoid rich in the blood supply. The narrow space between the two meanings are as connectively fatty tissues and veins and cerebral spinal fluid. The brain is divisible into forebrain, midbrain and hindbrain. Forebrain includes the olfactory lobe and the cerebral hemisphere. Midbrain includes the diencephalon and optic lobes, and the hindbrain is medulla oblongata and cerebellum. A small pineal body is also found in the posterior part of the cerebellum, and anterior plexus is also found. On the ventral surface, visible diencephalon and two prominent large optic nerves cross each other forming a optic chiasma is also found. Behind the optic chiasma, a infundibulum bring a pituitary gland is also found in which intermediate lobe is absent. Midbrain includes the cerebellum and diencephalon and optic lobes, and this is the structure, and the hindbrain includes the cerebellum, and spinal cord is continued from the brain into the through the vertebral column up to the last vertebrae. And the peripheral nervous system arising nerves, cranial nerves, 12 pair cranial nerves and 42 pair spinal nerves. This is the cranial cavity, this is the cranial nerves arising from the brain, this is the structure of brain. Cranial nerves are the olfactory, optic, oculomotor, trochlear, trigeminal, abducine, facial, auditory, glossopharyngeal, vagus, spinal accessory and hypoglossal. These are 12 pair of cranial nerves and 42 pair of spinal. Autonomous nervous system are the some fibers and ganglions found in the internal structure. They control urinogenital, alimentary and respiratory and circulatory systems. Today it is thank you very much. In our next